where that stuff is all at. And again, like I said, everything is key on here. So when you turn a key on, you'll hear that diesel fuel pump start running. You'll see this is your grease fuel gauge here. I just put it where the other fuel gauge used to be. And you'll see it's going to come up and read the level in your auxiliary fuel tank. That's your vacuum gauge. Right now you're at, it's at 0. And again, this is really just for reading a restriction on your grease fuel filter. When you start up and you're driving down the road, you're going to see if you really step on it, you might pull, I don't know, 2 or 3. But when you start pulling like 7, 8, 9, 10, that's when you know that filter is getting restricted. Then when you start seeing that it's starving for fuel and not wanting to run, just make a mental note where that number is. Maybe that's 10, maybe it's 15. That's when you know that it's time to change that fuel filter. Again, if you were to switch over right now because the grease is cold and this car hasn't really been started all day, you more than likely should start pulling negative vacuum because the fuel is too thick. It's acting as a restricted fuel. In which case, you just switch back to diesel and let the car warm up a little bit more. The switch for the switching between the fuel systems is right here. So you can see it's in a relaxed position right now. Nothing's lit up on it. That right there would be switching to grease. So now if you look, you'll actually see the supply and return valve up there have LED lights on them. They should be glowing, showing that both those valves are engaged. Great. So, and then again, before you go to turn the car off, or whenever you don't want to run on that fuel tank, so you notice you're getting low on fuel, you just hit the down position, and that little light will light up, and you'll see it's just like a little click. And that's going to time the 45 seconds to a minute that I set the purge at. And then once that turns off, you'll even hear it click. It'll be good to go, be turned off on diesel. Okay. Other things on your car, that button here is now your glow plug circuit.
Oh, okay.
So you might still hear clicking from the other relay up there, but it's not connected to anything. It's not doing anything. It wasn't doing anything before. So what you want to do to start your car now is, of course, put a key in the run position, pull it out so that you're ready to start it, and then you probably won't have to give it gas anymore because it has a fuel pump giving it positive fuel pressure. But I don't know, it's just habit for me with these cars is to give it a little bit of fuel. Hit that button and hold it, I don't know, on really cold days, maybe up to a minute. Start it, keep holding it until the engine smooths out. You don't want to hold it for like 5 minutes because you'll probably burn out your glow plugs. But if you look in these instructions, I'm sure it probably tells you how long to hold it for, but usually I think it's pretty standard for these type of glow plugs that 1 to 3 minutes is fine. So you could just take a glance through this and look. But the way I've been starting the car here, since it's been here, is I usually just hold it for 10-15 seconds, start cranking the car, and just hold it until the engine smooths out. So, but that's that. There's a key little fuse in there. That's that main fuse that's underneath that cover there. So, and the circuit is all drawn in there, pretty simple. So you shouldn't miss it. Like if you have a problem, fuse blows or something like that, you should be able to just follow everything. Also, one of the updated glow plugs, in case you need to replace them, you don't want to put them old-fashioned ones back in there. You'll have to hold that thing for 10 minutes before something happens. So, but yeah, there's that stuff. If you want schematics for the way the wiring and everything else is on the other system, really you could just go to Golden Fuel Systems website and they have all the wiring schematics on there. So, what else did we do in this car? We did like battery on this car. That battery wasn't any good, probably from being cranked for so long to try to get this car to start.
Yeah.
Believe me, it was a nightmare for me to get this car started outside of the shop. Especially when you guys brought it, it was like 20 degrees out, snowing. So it was a lot of work. Yeah, so battery's new. This fuel filter I changed, the diesel fuel filter. All the fuel lines in the back are updated now. The belts I went through and tightened all that stuff up. You now have, what I did AMSOIL in here, European oil, 540. Upper and lower radiator hoses and thermostat, that's good to go now. So you don't have to worry about like overheating. I never really trust these, the temperature gauges on these cars, but now at least you know that like the major parts of your cooling system are new, like the coolant and that. The radiator looked good to me. The water pump is still on there, so I'm sure it's working. They're pretty tough little water pumps on these cars. Air filter and all that stuff, I kind of went through and cleaned as much as I could. It's got a washable filter in there. I replaced some of these intake tubes. I think they're pretty good. What else? Brakes. I went through most of your brakes on this car to make everything work. Right rear caliper, front pads, and rotors. It stops very well now. The parking brakes, I went through and did the broken and missing hardware and the shoes that needed to be done inside the rear brake rotors. The cables, like I've been using the parking brake on this car and haven't had a problem, but the cables do show signs of wear. So it's up to you guys. You'll know if the cables lock up because the car's not going to want to roll away from the stop. So you kind of need it. It's a standard transmission. You kind of need that parking brake to work, but I could see that possibly in the future you're going to go through and end up doing those cables at some point. Other things, rear CV axle, I was able to get a replacement axle instead of having to rebuild that one, so that was good. Rear differential fluid, all that stuff's been changed with that. I did some minimal stuff to your exhaust, and then really I got to kind of just look through and see what else I've had on the receipt. So I've been doing everything in like little increments on this car. So, you got it in it now?
Yeah, take your time.
Cool. This is a cover for your fuses. I left that off because I just wanted to show you guys where that key on signal is coming from. But these are all your fuses that control everything on this car. So, and these covers are never easy no matter where they put them. Well, hopefully you don't have to do this very often. There you go. But yeah, I kind of left everything right where you can see it, and it's funny. It's like most of the time these cars come in and there's just a ton of space on them where you can access everything. But on this car, everything was super tight. Like everything just barely fit and was functional where it's at. It's like the valves, you can see how much space they kind of take up. Like they're big valves, but where they're at, they're not blocking anything. So I mean, sure, like some hoses are kind of close to your master cylinder, but that's something you're not really touching very often anyways. And if you need to access it, cut one zip tie and move them out of your way. But everything else, it's like all your linkage is clear. There wasn't like a good spot anywhere else to put things. This is actually your heater controls, and there's like just enough room to like control how much coolant circulates through the inside of the car. So it's nice because you can see everything. So it's like if you have a problem with any part of the system, it's like this is your time delay relay. These are the relays that control the system. This is all your connections, just like in the diagrams that you can print up offline. These are the only two fuses you're really going to look at. On this time delay relay, that little blue knob there is actually the timing of that purge. And that you could just turn by finger. So in case, you know, for whatever reason you guys come in through here and bump things and you're like, oh, well, now it takes my car like 2 seconds to purge. You can know that that little dial, turning it right or left, counterclockwise or whatever, is gonna either speed it up or slow it down. So. By the time I get your fuse cover back on there, I'm gonna knock it all the fuses. You guys have any other questions? Are you pretty good on like grease collection and all that kind of stuff? And
Yeah, I'm getting started on it. I'm still talking with people and stuff. So one of my friends owns a restaurant in Ypsilanti too, so I know I can get some from her.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to just get some closer to home. So, did you get a chance to look at this at all? This thing wasn't firing.
Oh, for the washer fluid?
Yeah.
No, but I'll take a quick look at it for you. Yeah, and I don't know what you want to do with the antenna, but probably just get a universal antenna. I put that cap and stuff back together back there.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, if you want to do something that's like a little bit more long term, just buy like a universal antenna kit for this car.
Cool.
I think for this car you might pay a little bit more, like 60 or 70 bucks, but they're pretty simple to install. You practically do it yourself with just a couple basic tools.
Cool.
What about a wrap? Do you have any suggestions on a wrap or like a weight limit if we were to fabricate one?
For the top of the car?
Yeah.
I don't know, a lot of people put stuff like that on these cars, so I would maybe even look at like I only get an issue with like how much weight you weigh on the top of the car with. I don't know if I'd be putting like 55-gallon drum of fuel or something up there, because then you would have a problem.
That's what we're kind of curious about.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you one thing. It's better to load a car down and put weight on it than it is for the car to pull a trailer.
Yeah.
So it's less wear and tear on it. Maybe look at like the 300 TDs, you know, the wagons. All those cars had racks on them. See if you find one in a junkyard. And I mean, it's probably just as simple, especially since you don't have a moonroof, just drilling some holes and bolting it on. You know.
And then, as far as like carrier sport fuel, do you have any suggestions?
Well, a lot of customers usually just carry in a little 5-gallon cubies, you know.
Yeah.
And you got tons of space in your trunk, so.
That's, I have like 20 of those sitting in my house.
What's that, cubies?
Yeah.
They're not full of grease, are they?
No. I think 2 of them are. The others are just empty, waiting for it.
Yeah, Alan has a truck that runs on grease,
Nice.
but he added an extra fuel tank to it, so you can carry a little bit more capacity.
We use them at my store, so I do them when they're done.
Okay, well if I get this cover on again, don't
You want
ever
me to
take it
hold
off.
this?
Oh no,